I've played my fair share of free-to-play MMOs. It all started when I'd spent 2 years of my life on World of Warcraft. I was unemployed and started doing the math on exactly how much money I'd spent on that game. Needless to say, the result was the most eye-opening jolt of reality I've ever experienced. I was pretty much flat broke, but I still had the urge to occasionally enter a fictional fantasy world where I could pretend to be someone other than an unemployed gymnasium graduate who occasionally manned a door at a nightclub on weekends. I went online in search for a game to play and only found one top 10 list of free-to-play MMOs. I downloaded the one in the top spot. It was called Silk Road Online. The game was South Korean and the English in the dialogue and menus was absolutely dreadful. But after playing it for a while and thoroughly enjoying it, I went online again in search for a little more information. It was a desert. Not a single written review and very few uninformative previews. A few years later, another free-to-play game called Black Prophecy caught my eye. I spoke about it to a couple of my colleagues and the subject of reviewing the game came up. The immediate response was, why the hell would you review a free-to-play game? People can just download it themselves and give it a try. Well, yes they can, but let's not forget that people are idiots. I'm not claiming any superior intelligence here, far from it. I'm just saying that all art, be it literary, audio, visual, or interactive, deserves to be scrutinized and criticized by dedicated people qualified to do so. Let me give you an example. When I was a kid, my father read to me Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. I thought it was hilarious, exciting, and fun. I loved it as a kid. Then in my teens, I decided to read it again. I found the humor at times to be a bit childish, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. But it wasn't until I started studying English literature at university level that we took that story and tore it to pieces. We analyzed and diagnosed each and every simile, metaphor, satirical element, cultural and historical reference. Even though I'd grown up with this story, laughed at it and loved it, it wasn't until that moment that I truly understood it. I liked it, but I had no idea why I liked it. I loved it, but I simply didn't understand it well enough to respect it. This goes for games as well. With free-to-play games growing exponentially in complexity, popularity, and quality, we need to give them the respect they deserve. Black Prophecy, for example, employed an award-winning sci-fi writer to create the game's story and world, and I can virtually guarantee that there are metaphors, similes, and cultural references in the game's narrative that no one will see if trained eyes look the other way. The same goes for the game's visual art, which is pretty impressive considering that it's running on the quite dated Gamebryo engine. There are bound to be elements there that trained eyes could enlighten readers about, if they would just take the time to do so. But as it is, free-to-play games are sadly ignored by the professionals of our art, cast aside by dedicated reviewers who would rather spend their time scrutinizing and complaining about the lack of innovation in the latest game in a series of non-innovative games. Those are not the games that sneak satire and deep plot elements into their setting. No, that would be too risky. It's safer to keep the game as shallow and superficial as possible. That's where the big bucks are. Each and every one of us is yearning for a game to break the mold that AAA games have become encased in, but I can guarantee that it won't be the big studios who deal the shattering blow. Many have speculated that the next big thing will come out of the indie scene, and it is true that they are doing truly amazing and innovative things there, but they just aren't reaching the audience they deserve. Considering the number of free-to-play games out there, studios are bound to start experimenting with ways to stand out from the crowd. If they don't, the whole model will collapse as a result of oversaturation. This experimentation, I believe, will result in innovation in every facet of this art. I, for one, as a devoted gamer and an enthusiastic critic of this developing art form, will be keeping a close eye on the free-to-play market, as it is bound to make a significant blow to the mold of stagnation. By the way, how do you like the new haircut? I like having short hair. It makes my arm look bigger.